Again, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us for this webinar titled How to Execute Your Mixed Mode Manufacturing in the Cloud. We are well aware that everyone's working conditions are going to be different. Most of you, if not all, will be enjoying this webinar from home as the country and world are going through this particular trying time. So bear with any background noise that you do hear. Some of us have children running around in the back, and there's only so much we can do to control them, as you know. Regarding any questions you may have through this event, feel free to use the chat function to submit them. And we will typically go through the entire presentation as a whole and then answer some of the questions, but there may be a time or two that we'll choose to read out loud the questions and answer them during the presentation. So again, thank you very much. And my name, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jeff Dalgard, and I'm with NexInfo Solutions. And the presenter today is Mahesh Nahalla. He is a subject matter expert on this topic. And without further ado, let me hand the microphone over to Mahesh. Again, thank you very much.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for the quick introduction about this webinar. And hello, everyone, and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. So this is Mahesh Nahalla from NexInfo Solutions, and thank you, everyone, for taking your time to attend this webinar. Hopefully, you will get some good insights about the fusion manufacturing, as well as how to handle mixer mode functionality within this fusion manufacturing. As just mentioned, pardon me if you hear any background noises from my side, as I'm presenting this from the home. Okay. So with that, so quick intro about myself. So I have total of 11+ years of experience in the IT and industry experience with as a Oracle supply chain consultant. I'm Fusion certified implementation specialist with expertise around 3+ years of experience in Fusion, and overall EBS and Fusion implementation experience, it's 11+. So I worked on many across industries, which includes business process mapping and design solutions and everything. So that's quick intro about myself. So agenda for today's presentation. So I'll start with the overview about mixer mode manufacturing. So what is actually the mixer mode manufacturing and what industries typically use that? What are the current challenges with this mixer mode manufacturing? That's what we go through in the overview. From there, we'll see what benefits the mixer mode manufacturing can offer. And then we'll talk about how cloud manufacturing and what functionalities cloud manufacturing is going to provide in terms of mixer mode manufacturing, as well as in general. The way this presentation is laid out, it puts together the cloud manufacturing overall functionalities along with the specific mixer mode functionalities. So that's why you see cloud manufacturing overview and what are the major roles, how you perform basic setups within the manufacturing cloud. Then we'll see how you execute your work orders, and before execution of work orders, how you will do the work definition setups, etc. So that's the agenda for today's presentation. So this here about, as just mentioned, if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the questions options on the sidebar. And I'll take the questions at the end of the presentation. I'll make sure that I'll cover all the questions before we end this presentation. So please submit your questions using the sidebar. So before going into the actual presentation, let me do a quick poll to understand a couple of so the audience knowledge about the fusion manufacturing and a few other things. So let me launch a poll, and there might be a couple of options which you have to select for each question. There will be 3 questions, and I'll wait for everybody to answer, and then I'll close that question and post the next question. So with that, let me post my first question. What type of manufacturing do you perform in your organization? So if you can please answer that question. Okay, still collecting responses. %56 voted. Okay, so I'm closing this, and I got the mix. So like 40% discrete, 20% process, and 40% mixed. That's what I see the whole. Okay, that's good. The next question: how do you know how much you know about the fusion of manufacturing? Uh,
Mash, you may want to close some of the background. Right now, we're seeing an email shell of yours.
No, I don't have any emails or anything. I closed everything.
Never mind, that's me.
So I got the mixed response. Some don't know anything, some know to some extent, and some are currently using but not familiar with the functionality. So the last question: what challenges do you currently face with your current manufacturing practices, systems, or process? Okay, I got answers. Difficulty with multiple systems and not able to handle the mixer mode well. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. Let me go into the presentation. So as I said, as I mentioned, like during the agenda, so the first thing we see is what is mixer mode manufacturing. So basically, mixer mode manufacturing means processing drastically both modes of manufacturing under one roof. Like when I say both process manufacturing and discrete manufacturing under single one organization or under one plant. So that basically comes as a mixed mode manufacturing. So this includes like let's say example, if you take the food industry that I put together the process here, like there will be a formulation step, extrusion step, processing steps before you really pack and label. So those initial steps which are performed in batches acts as a subassembly for this final step which goes into the packaging and label. So these first three steps comes under process manufacturing. And finally, the last step in the process, which comes under the discrete manufacturing. So it is basically a combination of both process and discrete. Maybe it's at the first stages will be discrete and the next the process, or the first stages will be processed in the next the discrete. So this is typically the mixed mode manufacturing means. So where you handle two different ways of manufacturing to complete your finished good. So or to make your finished good. So that really qualifies as the mixed mode manufacturing. Okay. So what are the why is it needed? So as I mentioned, like plants that process majority of operation in either discrete or process may over time see the need to apply manufacturing mode. So typical examples here, plastics and rubber industries. So this is just an example, a couple of industries that I took. Like what happens with the plastics and rubber industries, like they perform some injection molding and some other steps as the process manufacturing steps in the beginning of production cycle, while further processing takes place in discrete. So it's like for producing the product, initially they do some melting and framing and all that steps they do in initial stages, which performed in the batches, and each individual product finally goes into the packaging that's qualified for the discrete. Similarly, for the consumer packaged and goods like food and beverage industries, which operate in the mix and mode operation, like where mix is the process activity, where they perform some different mixing activities, and while bottling and packing are usually discrete. So that's another typical example where this mixer mode is needed. And other industries, because of in order to meet the customer demands, constant changes in the customer demands, and many new competitive products. So other industries may also have to implement mixer mode manufacturing or go with the process of handling both process and discrete in their industries. So these are the typical scenarios where mixer mode manufacturing is needed, like basically the process industries and the food industries are industries where they handle multiple products according to the customer demands. So these are a few scenarios where you want to handle the mixed mode manufacturing. So what are the benefits of mixed mode manufacturing? So one major benefit with handling mixed mode manufacturing within the organization, it's improves your competitiveness in the market. You need not to depend on outside sourcing or the CMOs or the third-party manufacturers to perform some of your functions. That improves your competitiveness and or keep up with the market. And other thing is it provides you make good decisions and providing great alternate and agility. So what happens because the systems out in the market currently are not able to handle your mixer mode well. So because of that, many of the industries they process some of their activities outsourced. And with that, there will be time lag in making the decisions or making sure that the quality is met, and if there are any process changes that needs to be communicated to the third parties. So all this provides difficulties with the outsourcing process, and those can be eliminated by implementing mixed mode manufacturing within your organization. And the graph here, if you see the chart that put together is from the recent Industrial Week survey. What happens with mixed mode manufacturing implementation? The gross revenue is increased by 36%, and market share for the companies with increased by 35%, and the cost reduction is reduced by 33% because everything is controlled within your own organization and not dependent on the outside. So this is some of the these are some of the benefits by implementing mixed mode manufacturing. So what are the challenges that are out in the with the companies that are in need for this mixed mode manufacturing? So traditional ERP systems that are out in the market force either companies to choose process or discrete. So they cannot handle both in one organization. They either have to go with the process or the discrete, and the two process are very well differentiated by different set of modules or different set of functionalities. That makes very difficult for the companies to go with the mixed mode. And also there is a difficulty with supply planning and the scheduling in mixed mode manufacturing. So there is no system out there which supports your supply planning and the scheduling for handling both the discrete and process. So that's another difficulty or the challenge that is that every customer or the industry faces currently. So because of this, the customer or industry has to define multiple organizations. So one for process and one for discrete. They have to define multiple organizations, and they have to handle process independently and transfer material from one org to other to complete their finished good. That's another challenge. And another challenge is creating multiple work orders to track co-products and byproducts. Let's say you have some, because in your process manufacturing, you have multiple co-products and byproducts coming out of the process. You need to track them separately, and the costing will be becoming difficulty to handle all these complexities. So these are some of the challenges with mixed mode manufacturing, with systems not available that can handle well both the process. So this slide here shows you comparison between other ERP systems and what Oracle Fusion can do. So if you see here with other ERP systems, you have to define separate orgs for discrete and process, But in Fusion, what happens is it's a single organization that can handle both the process well. So it's a single organization and a single item. You can use the same item for both the process well within Fusion. So because of this, so other ERP systems force you to transfer subassembly from one org to other org to produce a finished good, which is one additional step, and that has to be happened during the process of production because of two separate orgs. But in Fusion, there is no org transfers involved, as everything is in single organization. So other ERP systems is totally different suite of modules for discrete and process, right from maintaining your items and item structures, formulas, everything is handled differently for process and discrete. So for discrete, it's called as BOM and routing. So, but for a process, it's recipes and formulas and everything that are handled independently. But in Fusion, it's the same set of modules that handle both manufacturing process, and it's a single data model that you are going to use for both. And other ERP system force you to plan and schedule separately for discrete and process orgs. But in Fusion, the planning and schedule fully supports mixed mode organizations. So this is a quick comparison and between the Fusion and other systems, what Fusion can do and what other ERP systems cannot do. With that, as I mentioned in the previous slide, again I put together some of the additional advantages. So mixed mode manufacturing in Fusion can combine discrete and process in the same plant, which is the same org, even in the same work center. When you say work center, like it's a place where you handle, where you define all your resources and the items. So within the same work center or even the same item, can be used for process or the discrete manufacturing. So the differentiation is not at the plant or org level or the item level. So the differentiation is by work method. So when you go, we will see look into all this in the next slide. What is work method and how you are differentiating. So you can differentiate by work method instead of item or organization. That's how you differentiate your discrete and process. And so because of it's a single data model for both the process, the differentiation is really you can determine the best manufacturing method for each stage of production, starting from processing your raw materials until the production of your finished good. You can choose whatever manufacturing process suits for that step. You can define any type of manufacturing for that stage of production. So leverage one data model for all your needs for both the process, and execute and control production based on variety of manufacturing modes. So these are some of the advantages with Fusion manufacturing by enabling the mixed mode manufacturing.
Mahesh, a question did come in that I see very pertinent to this particular slide here. Is the mixed mode a module to purchase separately, or is it included in the Oracle Manufacturing Cloud?
Oh, that's a good question, Jeff. So this is not a separate module. This is the new functionality within the Fusion Manufacturing Suite. So whoever licenses this Fusion Manufacturing Suite can enable this functionality by just performing some setups. This is not a separate module to buy or not a separate functionality to pay extra. So this is included within Fusion Manufacturing Suite. Hope that answers your question. So with that, we quickly looked at what is the Fusion manufacturing and how the Fusion manufacturing is supported in. We looked at mixed mode manufacturing and how mixed mode manufacturing is supported by Fusion. So from here, I'll talk through in general cloud manufacturing functionalities, and slowly we can go look into what setups need to be performed for enabling the mixed mode manufacturing. So this diagram depicts how Oracle Manufacturing Cloud delivers core, discrete, and process manufacturing capabilities. So here, if you see, right from defining until you're costing your manufacturing, so it is an end-to-end suite which performs everything: define, execute, and costing. So defining is basically designing the manufacturing process and processing standards, which is nothing but defining your work areas, work centers, resources, and work definitions. Then the execution is basically creating the work orders and managing the work orders and monitoring the shop floor status, etc. comes under execution. And also you can execute work orders quickly and easily while enforcing execution compliance during the execution process. So once you execute, you can analyze and control work order cost, and Fusion manufacturing is seamlessly integrated with cost management. So basically what this flow here explains you, it supports your end-to-end process that is needed for your manufacturing purposes, right from the defining until the costing of goods. So the next slide here is about functional architecture. So this diagram here represents the high-level functional architecture of Oracle Manufacturing Cloud, and it also highlights the dependencies and interactions with other Fusion applications. As you see here, the blue bar here shows you the manufacturing cloud and very different modules which Fusion provides, like the product model, planning central, quality management, purchasing. You see everything is seamlessly integrated with the manufacturing. So if you see the product model, you can basically interface item structures and with Fusion manufacturing, and planning central is equivalent to advanced supply chain planning in EBS. And that is also seamlessly integrated with manufacturing. It basically collects all the work orders and it generates the supply for raw materials based on the demand that you have. So it is, and again, the planning central supported for both process, discrete, and mixed mode. So that is also seamlessly integrated with manufacturing. Similarly, quality management, as you see here. So it is pretty much integrating with all the internal modules, and also if there is a need that you have some external application that performs any of these functionalities, that can also be seamlessly integrated with Fusion manufacturing. So it supports both internal applications and also the external applications. This is the very high level functional architecture of the Fusion manufacturing. So the next here we are seeing is what are the major capabilities of the Fusion manufacturing. And the capabilities for the manufacturing is divided into 4 sections. You see the very first thing is setting up of manufacturing plant data, and then executing the production, monitor and manage production, and accounting and cost accounting. So what comes under the setting up manufacturing plant data? You can perform different plants, work areas, work centers. You can define standard operations, and you can enable social network collaboration, which is a nice feature within the Fusion across modules. This is not just for the manufacturing. This is available for many different modules, the social network collaboration. So these are some of the things that you can enable in setting up the manufacturing plant data. Once you perform the setup, then the next step is execute. So where you perform your, you can perform work order completion, orderless completions, or perform transactions for the resources and the materials. You can review dispatch list. There are very different functionalities that are available under executing production. So while executing the production, there is an option for monitoring manage production. So where production manager can go onto the single just the landing page, and he or she can constantly monitor or manage production. So to see if there are any exceptions or if to see if there are any pending work orders that are pending approval. So you can constantly manage and monitor production while the execution is happening parallelly. Once the execution is completed, then transfer all your work orders data, the manufacturing data to the costing, and the costing, the next steps in the costing can be happen. So these are high-level capabilities of the Fusion manufacturing. So we looked at capabilities, we looked at architecture and the quick end-to-end flow. So now I'm going into little deeper, like what are the major roles? If you talk in terms of EBS or other EFI systems, they're called as responsibilities. So this is majorly divided into 2 sections. One is work definition and another is work execution. So work definition is the area which provides insight into key setup information for a manufacturing plant. It also lists all the tasks that need to be performed and that need to be performed and managed for setting up the manufacturing data. If you see this work definition, you can do all these activities like managing the resources, managing work centers, work areas. All this comes under work definition, and typically, usually work definition roles goes to the manufacturing engineer or production supervisor, the high level like roles who really maintains all this data for the execution on day-to-day basis. So the next is the work execution. This area is basically for creating work orders and doing day-to-day activities like reporting material transactions, resource transactions, and reviewing product genealogy and many other functionalities that falls under the work execution. So this is how the Fusion Manufacturing Suite is divided into two roles like work definition and work execution. With that, let me walk you through how the setups will be performed for the manufacturing cloud. Typically, as like any other system, the very first step is enabling or setting up your plant as a manufacturing plant. That's the very first step in your setup process. Then enabling common setups like profile options or the lookups, or if there is any need for descriptive flex fields, you can enable all that fields. So these are some of the common setups that need to be performed. There will not be many profile options, as like in EBS, there is very minimal, like one or two just the profile options that we need to enable when we're setting up the manufacturing plant. So once you have your plant set up and common setup performed, then it needs to be performed in detail setups like enable work areas and define work centers under these work areas, define resources under each work center, and define standard operations if needed any. So those are like real manufacturing setups that need to be performed once the manufacturing plant is set up and enabled for manufacturing. So this is the cycle or the process that need to be followed for enabling the manufacturing in Fusion. So this slide here shows you how we enable the mixed mode manufacturing. So the highlighted part here, so the screen we are looking at here is the manage plant parameters, which is nothing but once you enable the enabling your organization for manufacturing purposes. So under that, there are two options. One is enable process manufacturing. Other thing is default work method. So basically, default work method is the thing that controls or enables your organization either for process or discrete. So without checking this, if you enable only, if you set up only default work method either as a process or discrete, that's how it works. The organization is enabled either for the process or discrete, and all the functionalities and all the screens that when the user logs into the system is controlled by this default work method. So if the default work method is process manufacturing, the screens he or she is going to look when log into the system is enabled for process manufacturing capabilities. If it is discrete, and the discrete capabilities will be enabled accordingly. This enable process manufacturing is something on top of default work method. If you enable this process manufacturing, whenever for some of the functionalities you need the process manufacturing capabilities, then this enabling will allow the user to create the setups needed for the process manufacturing also. Some of the work orders or some of the work definitions that your organizations require can use enable process manufacturing can be used along with whatever is the default work method. So this is typically controls or enables your mixed mode manufacturing within your organization. So that's once you enable your mixed mode and manufacturing at the plant parameters, then as I mentioned, the very first step is defining your work definition. So this screen we are seeing here is the landing page for the work definition. So when somebody goes and clicks on the work definition icon, this is the page or where he lands, and the different sections you see here are called the info types. So this pretty much gives insights into like work centers by work area or work center resources, how many plant resources are the equipment and labor, and it also gives them the task bar, the tasks that are available under this role, and what are the recently updated work definitions. So it is a one page where it gives multiple information, and all these info tiles, these are called as individual sections are called as info tiles, and these are like interactive. You can click on this and go further into the details. Like if somebody clicks on this number 34, it will bring up all the resources, equipment resources that are defined under particular work center or the work area. So this is
Mahesh, a question has surfaced. Sorry to cut you off here. Can these info tiles be configured based on user preferences?
Yes, Jeff. This can be configured based on the user preferences, and these are pretty much configurable as per the user needs. Not everybody can see the same info tile. They can hide or they can enable more functionalities or more info tiles also. Okay, so this slide here talks about what are the steps that are typically involved in creating work definition. So work definition is nothing but it's a tool to create template for execution. It's basically a routing in the other terminologies. It's a routing which controls the process for your further processing of the work order. So what happens is here you define the work definition name and a defined header, and you add or edit operations. And along with operations, you add or edit items and the resources. So this is the standard flow, either for the discrete or the process when you're setting up work definitions for any of your manufacturing process. One additional step that is available for process manufacturing. Let's say you have co-products or byproducts coming out of your multiple operations. Then that functionality is also available, adding output operations at any operation steps. So let's say after completing the first operations, you're expecting some co-product or byproduct that can be added at the first operation, and at the end of in the last step, you will be having multiple outputs coming, like a couple of byproducts and the primary output that can be added for the process manufacturing while defining the work definition. So, and this work definitions can be performed like going into the user interface or using the ADF DI spreadsheet or the file-based import or something called REST APIs. So there are multiple ways how you define or load your work definitions. ADF DI spreadsheet and the file-based imports are very simple to use. Those are like the standard Excel templates where the user can fill in the data, and just by one click of export here, that the data can be exported into the system. So multiple ways of defining the work definitions is provided by the Fusion Manufacturing. So this screenshot here shows you the sample work definition for process manufacturing. So as I was mentioning, either your process or discrete is controlled by the work method. So while defining the process work definition, there is something called work method, which you have to select either as a process or discrete. And based on the work method that is selected here, the fields that are shown at the bottom will change. So here is the process manufacturing. So in that case, you have something called process name. So this process name should be unique within an organization. So this process name is the primary thing when you are trying to create a work order for this particular primary output. So as soon as you select the primary output, the process name by default populated or vice versa. So since this is a process manufacturing work definition, you see the batch quantity and unit of measure. Available fields, and you can name your work definition. Is it a main work definition or the alternate work definition? You can name it accordingly. But primarily this work method controls if it is the process or the discrete. So here it's again the screenshot. Once you have your operation, how you will be assigning the operation items. So this is the screenshot of assigning items to operations. You can enter like if the basis is variable and what is the supply type, what is the supply sub inventory, how much is the item yield. So all that can be controlled while assigning items to particular operation within a work definition. Again, so this is still a process manufacturing work definition screen. So here, what I'm showing you here is the operation output. So as I mentioned, you can specify outputs at various operations, and the output type primarily decides if it is a product or the co-product or the byproduct. So based on operation output, you can output type that the system understands if this is a co-product or the byproduct or the output type. So one thing to remember here while defining work definition for the process manufacturing, you need not to define you need not to have any primary BOM already defined or the item structure that is already defined. So whatever items you are assigning, they are all on ad hoc basis that you will be assigning while creating the work definition. So you can select any item from the organization and assign to any of the operation within the work definition. So there is no primary structure that controls what items that goes into that particular work definition. So it can be any item within the organization that are defined under that org can be assigned to any operation within that work definition. So this screen here you see is for the discrete manufacturing. So again, the work method is discrete manufacturing, and as you see here, that the fields which we see for the process manufacturing is different from this. So here you see the item, and based on the item structure gets populated. For the discrete, item structures are mandatory. Like that's how the components are decided for that particular work definition. So you need to have the item structure. So item structure is nothing but your BOM, which is defined under production management or the product information management. So you define your components for the finished good item that you are planning to create a work definition, and this item structure controls what are the components that goes into primarily making that item. So this is what the discrete manufacturing work definition screen looks like. Similarly, you have work definition name also, like you are doing for the process manufacturing. You need to define work definition names, like the primary work definition or the alternate work definition, whatever names is available. So once you have your work definitions and the plan setup performed, so the next thing is work execution. Work execution is nothing but it starts from creating the work order, releasing the work order, and executing the work order. So first bar you see is the work order based execution and orderless execution. It supports both work order based execution and orderless execution. So if you are going with a work order execution, the first step is creating the work order, release work order. Once you release the work order, there is something called review dispatch list. It's a screen in the Fusion where production operator can go see all the work orders that need to be executed, and he or she can perform reporting the material transactions, resource transactions accordingly under review dispatch list. So while performing these different material transactions, the black flash of materials happens, auto transacting of resources, and while operation completion or at the last step completing it to inventory. So many different transactions happen parallelly along with user performed action during this review dispatch list process. And similarly, orderless execution can also be performed for scrap transactions or some other miscellaneous transactions. So they can be reported using the orderless transactions. So that is also supported by Fusion Manufacturing. So work execution overview landing page. So as you see here, as I mentioned, these are all called as again info tiles. So work execution landing page, when the production supervisor goes and access the page, So he or she can get different information just on the single page. If you see here, it shows you like how many WIP inspections are pending, how many rework work orders are currently in the organization, how many are released, how many are past due, and he or she can go click on that and see why they are still past due and why are some work orders on hold. So this is a very different information is available for the supervisor by just logging into the one page. No need to run any report or not multiple reports, just one single page for accessing different information. And these are again configurable as per the user need. These are called as info tiles. So the execution part starts with the creating work order. So the screen here shows you work order creation screen. So pretty much when you create a work order, you have to select the work method, and as I showed you, when we are creating the work definition, we'll be selecting the process name, so which is unique within the organization. So based on the process name, it decides with the output quantity, batch quantity. You can enter the batch quantity, and the item and primary output, everything gets populated accordingly. Or this can be our creation basis can be process name or based on the primary output. So either ways you can create your standard work order for the process manufacturing. So again, this screen shows you here when you have the work order created. If you see here, there are 3 operations within this work order, and each operation is having their own outputs. So it's like a process manufacturing work order where you can expect co-products or byproducts or different operation steps. And the standard work order for the discrete manufacturing, again, the work method here you see is the discrete manufacturing, and basically you need to select the item and quantity. Based on the item that is selected here, work definition name populates based on the priority that is set up in the system. And save and edit, and then release the work order for further processing. So this is how you create a standard work orders by selecting the work method and item for the discrete. For the process, you'll be selecting work method and either process name or by the primary output, which is basically the item. So these are the 2 different ways you create work orders for the process and discrete within the same organization. So once you have your work orders defined, and once they are released, production operator can go into the screen called review dispatch list, where he or she can see all the work orders that are need to be acted upon. And as you see here, the work method, it clearly shows you if that work order is belonging to the discrete manufacturing or the process manufacturing. So if there are any process manufacturing work orders within the same organization, it shows on the same screen, and he or she can perform the transactions, report material transactions or the resource transactions accordingly. So this screenshot here shows you transactions performance for the processing work order, process manufacturing work order. You see here, this is the operation 30, and there are 2 products. One output type is product and byproduct, which out of the same step. So and perform the actions accordingly while completing that operation. So report output for the product and also for the byproduct, performing the transaction within a single step. And this screen here shows the completion details for the discrete work order. So you basically enter the quantity and backflush the materials, and auto transaction of resources happens based on the setup, if it is the auto transact or manual transaction of the resources. So this is about completing the work order for the discrete manufacturing. So what is the business value? So with fusion manufacturing, the business value that it basically brings in, you can enable mixed mode manufacturing in the same plant. No need to define multiple organizations or 2 different systems or 2 different modules that you need to purchase. It's just one system and one data model. As I mentioned, like the same item and the same work center, same plant can be enabled for both the process. And it enables smoother implementation of both the process as it is defined by work method. So single data model can be maintained for both the process, and only based on the work method, you can derive your next steps. So that's the reason it's a simple implementation for both mixed mode manufacturing for both discrete and process. And it provides similar capabilities for both manufacturing process, both in-house and outside processing. So it basically gives the same capabilities like for the supply planning or for handling your outside processing or for your contract manufacturing. So it supports both the capabilities for both the manufacturing processes. So it provides similar capabilities. And it provides simple migration process for large volumes of data, because there is something called FPDA feature, which is called as a file-based data import. So this is a very nice feature which is easy to use for a simple migration for the large volumes of data during your implementation from your legacy system into this new Fusion manufacturing. So these are some of the values that can be added to your business by bringing in Fusion manufacturing. So that's all the presentation that I put together. So let me take the questions. Can you see any questions? Can you read them out for me?
Yes, I can. They're funneling in as we speak. So let me just give it a second here so I can make the question links a little bit larger for me to read.
Okay.
Here is one now. Does mixed mode manufacturing support quality inspections?
Yes, it's pretty much as I showed you in the functional architecture slide. So this is tightly integrated with the quality module, and it supports both individual discrete process and also your mixed mode process well. So with this quality integration, you can either create already enabled quality steps into the work definition, or you can enable ad hoc quality inspections also while performing work order transactions. So it supports quality inspections.
Very good, thank you. Another one here would be, how are BOMs defined in Fusion?
So BOMs are pretty they are called as item structures in Fusion. So you will be defining item structures under something called product information management, where you define your items and maintain the items. And as I mentioned, BOMs are needed only for discrete manufacturing. For process manufacturing, it is basically on ad hoc. While creating the work definition, you will be assigning your input items and output items. So you need not to define a formula which you call in your other systems. You need not to have a formula defined well ahead. So you will be defining under product information management.
Outstanding. From which release is this mixed mode manufacturing supported in Fusion? I'm not sure if I'm reading that correctly, but I'm hoping you get the gist of it.
So I think it started from the 19B. So this feature is enabled starting 19B.
Starting 19B?
Okay. 19B, yeah. Right now it's 20A. Yeah.
Oh, give me a second. I'm sorry. I just lost the screen. Here we go. Can we access Fusion manufacturing on mobile or tablet or some type of remote device?
Yes. So that's a nice question. So yeah, Fusion manufacturing, it can be accessed like the production supervisor or the production operator can log into the mobile device or any tablet to perform the transaction. So yeah, the mobile screens are available, or the mobile app is available for Fusion.
I'm running out of questions here, everybody. I have one more. Please feel free to continue filing them in. The last one I have presently is, does Fusion manufacturing support contract manufacturing?
Yes. So it supports many different manufacturing process, like back-to-back the process and the contract manufacturing process, or the outside processing. So yeah, it supports well many different manufacturing process that are needed for any industry. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, at this point, that concludes the Q&A, unless any one of our audience members would like to submit any additional. If you're in the process of typing, just send in a quick blurb and we'll wait for you. Going once. Going twice. We have no additional questions. Mahesh, outstanding job today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for attending this session. Hopefully, you got some insights into the fusion manufacturing. So with that,
Sure. We do have a quick overview about our organization, just to identify for you how we've earned the privilege of giving such a presentation. And of course, we do represent NexInfo Solutions. We are a consulting firm, of course. We are a premier Oracle partner, founded just over 20 years ago. Obviously, that gives us an extensive amount of experience in assisting clients, both small, medium, and large organizations. And we focus on both business process as well as software implementation, because we feel that, of course, you can have the best solution in the world, but if the implementation process, if the folks don't have a mature business process, your ROI is just not going to be there. And like I mentioned, we have deep expertise across a wide variety of acronym soup, whether it's in the ERP space, product lifecycle management, integrated business planning, even CRM, EPM for those enterprise performance folks, HCM, very strong topic for us, and a number of others. We're even involved very much so in the higher ed space. We have a specific methodology within the cloud space, utilized in a fast-track cloud migration processes, so we can bring those best practices to you and your organization quite rapidly. We do have some kudos that we've earned over the years from CIO Review, Silicon Review, and of course Gartner. So very strong there. And we partner not just with Oracle, but also SAP, Microsoft, Vanguard, RFGen, and a host of other organizations. Headquarter-wise, we are based on Orange County, California, with offices throughout the country and world, with assets in Europe and India, Ireland, UK, Switzerland, Belgium, just to name a few. And of course, we're US-based. Our industry experience, like I mentioned, both small and large market, we're across the board from your high-tech, food and beverage, higher ed, aerospace, defense, you name it, we've been there. And some of our clients would include Pfizer, Semtech, Nordstrom, Qualcomm, Sakura, Beckman Coulter, Jack in the Box, the wonderful company, Northwest, Mississippi Community College, and a host of others. So if you do wish to contact us, there are many ways of doing such. You can reach us at letstalk@nexinfo.com. You can reach out to the main office at 714-955-6970, and your particular question, comment, concern will be disseminated to the appropriate people. Again, my name is Jeff Dalgard. I'm a manager within NexInfo, and Mahesh was the expertise within this arena. We thank you very much for your time, effort, and energy. Again, be safe, be healthy, and take care of you and yours. And I look forward to speaking with any and all of you after this, and perhaps at the next event that we have. I believe we're going to be hosting these monthly at this point, and we'll get that invitation out to you ASAP. Have a wonderful day, everybody.